long since I last updated. As you know, I got really behind with my editing because my Mac had to go away to be fixed, and then Amelia Rose went back to school, and I've just kind of struggled getting back on top of everything, so I really do apologise for that. I do still want to obviously put out all the footage that I've got, but I think probably the best thing to do is to start again from now, and I will catch up with everything else as and when I can, if that makes sense. Thank you so much for all of the support and the kind of outpouring of love and everything. From everyone who's noticed that I've been a bit quiet, and especially from the peeps of Mama Sal, you know who you are, and for all of your love and support and well wishes. So things have changed somewhat since we last spoke, and I need some time to get my head around it, but obviously I want this to be a complete journey of my health, and therefore I think it's kind of important to make this video. Tony has been really encouraging me to get back onto YouTube because it gives me such a great focus, and I love reading your comments and feeling like I am kind of reaching out to other sufferers and hopefully having a positive impact on their lives. And yeah, just kind of like, yeah, I think he's identified that it's something that really helps me to cope with my own illness, in kind of helping other people explore their own and learn about their own and stuff. Does that make sense? I'm sure it does. I'm sure, well, I'm probably sure it doesn't, but there you go. Anyway, so what's changed? Well, Tony and I went to London the other week to have an appointment with the registrar who was involved in my hip operation that I had back in May. I don't know why. I think perhaps because I'm such an optimist, I don't know, and I'm so positive. I've still been waiting for them to kind of pull out their magic wand and say to me, surprise, we've got this cure and you're going to be fine, and it's all going to be rosy, and no, you don't have to live with pain for the rest of your life. Here, use this. And it turns out that magic wand doesn't exist. I've now had 2 surgeries on my right hip, and I've never had surgery on my left hip. However, the registrar said that because of the pattern of damage and injury to my right hip and the pain and everything that I experience in my left hip, they are sure that the damage is kind of as bad in the left as it is in the right. However, they feel that even just by putting a camera in to look at that damage, they could really threaten the structure of my hip, and therefore they are going to leave it because they don't want to destabilise my hips even more than they already are. The doctor was really lovely. He really understood, but it was a lot to take in because I really had hoped that certainly the situation with my hips would get better, and now we know that that isn't going to be the case, and I will be disabled for the rest of my life, and that's difficult to swallow. The Thursday before we went to London, just to kind of give you an idea of where I was in my mind and in my kind of heart, I'd been to a cafe in town, which is my favourite cafe, and I'd stood up to go to the toilet, and the force, I mean, it wasn't even like great force, for goodness sake, I just stood up, but my hip popped out, and the force of that caused my knee to dislocate, and it was incredibly painful. I was by myself because I do really strive to be as independent as I can, and it was hard because I was alone. So I rang Tony, and I expected that he would just come along and put it in. I've never dislocated my knee in that way before, like over subluxed my knee in that way before. So that situation in itself was quite new and therefore quite daunting. My knees do click, and I do some, you know, I kind of overextend my knee, but it actually got stuck out, and that's not happened to that extent before. So Tony arrived, and he tried to get my hip in, and it felt like it kind of had gone in, but something still felt really, really wrong, and it didn't feel like it was completely in. So after, I suppose, 20 minutes or so of just being in absolute agony with Tony there, we decided that we needed to ring an ambulance, because this was now too much pain for me to deal with. I was crying. I didn't scream and shout. I stared at the floor, and I just wished that the floor would swallow me whole, because the cafe was really busy and I was there with joints popping out. 2 first responders arrived. It took them quite a while, because they had to come over from like a neighbouring town, so that I suppose it took them about another 20 minutes or so. They gave me some gas and air, which was great. It got me nice and calm, but it didn't affect the pain at all. And the pain was still really overwhelming. He suggested that I needed to have morphine, but in order to have the morphine, I would then have to go into hospital. And obviously I really didn't want to go into hospital. But it became quite clear that this was not something that I could deal with by myself. So they rung an ambulance, and the ambulance arrived, and I was given some morphine. I was given quite a lot of morphine actually, because for whatever reason patients with hypermobility syndrome don't respond effectively to pain medication. We have a very, very high tolerance to pain medication, and it doesn't work as effectively in our bodies. So I had quite a lot of morphine and quite a lot of gas and air. My mum came with me in the ambulance, and Tony followed behind in the car. When we got there, on arriving, my knee had gone back in, which was fantastic, although very, very, very painful, and still over, still kind of subluxed and overextended, but it had actually, like, that click had kind of moved back in, which is great. Although still really, really painful. I was in agony with my hip. I was absolutely beside myself. It was incredibly stressful. In the end, they came to the conclusion, because I was still kind of adamant that, like, it felt like it was in, but it didn't feel like it was in, and it was really frightening, because it was a feeling that I didn't know. So what was decided in the end was that the doctor was going to lift up my leg, which he did, and he pushed it into my stomach. This is probably after about an hour. Maybe it wasn't that long, it felt that long. Maybe it was like 40 minutes, I don't know. And something most definitely popped, and we all kind of heard it, and myself and the doctor felt it, and he suspects that my muscle had actually got stuck when my hip had, like, come out and gone back in. It kind of trapped my muscle. So obviously that was really traumatic and very, very painful. That happened Thursday. We got home late Thursday night, and then we had to go to London Monday, which is where we got the news about my hips and the future of my hips. So that was really tough. Then on Wednesday, I had an appointment locally, and I was expecting nothing from this appointment. All of my gastroenterology care is up in London, and I didn't think that it was really going to be much of an appointment. I didn't really have any expectations of it. I thought it was just going to be a go in, have a chat and leave. And it turned out actually that the doctor had had the results of the kind of vigorous bowel testing that I've had. I had to have anorectal physiology, and I had to have a proctogram back in the summer, and I also had to do a dietary tract test, which is where you swallow 4 capsules. Inside those 4 capsules are 50 markers, and then they x-ray you to see where in the body they are. And so yeah, it was really hard. Sorry, I'm really sorry. It was really hard. Sorry. I'm really sorry. 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 Sorry. I'm really sorry because there's, sorry, so we know now that my bowel isn't going to work naturally by itself anymore. That was quite big news. Sorry, I'm so sorry. So sorry, I shouldn't be crying. But then if it was one of you, I'd be going, don't be stupid, of course you're allowed to cry. Yeah, you're allowed to cry, aren't you? The first thing that is going to happen is that I will be taught a form of irrigation called peristine, which is where you have to place a balloon and a catheter into your bowel, into your bottom, and it's a form of irrigation. So you fill yourself with water and everything comes away. The next step after that they're going to explore, and we'll go back and discuss with them, is putting in a stent, which will be a hole in my tummy that I will attach a tube to, and I will kind of manually pump and water flush through my bowel, everything through my system and out. And beyond that, he's consulting a doctor up in London, and he told me to prepare myself that probably within the next 5 years, although he didn't say, you know, if that would be, you know, I don't know, 12 months or 5 years, he doesn't know yet. I will need to be fitted with an ostomy bag, and they will have to bypass my bowel. But in order to do that, they need to make sure that my small bowel is working effectively enough, because otherwise there's all sorts of kind of complications. So it's been a really tough week. Here I go again. And I'm sure that in, you know, 6 months' time, I will have processed all of this. And I think it will probably end up being a really positive thing, because at the minute, I mean, our lives are kind of dictated by the kind of serious complications that are going on in my bowel. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are at the minute, and it's difficult to process, even though I know long term it will be really positive. Sorry, that's my phone going. Tony will answer that, I'm sure. I'll just give him a minute. Is he gonna get it? Yes, he's got it. I'm sure it'll be a really positive thing long term. I don't know the implications that it will have on my singing career and stuff like that. I would like to say, oh no, it's fine, I'll still be able to perform, and I'm sure I will. But at the minute, all of that is very heavy on my heart. And I'm struggling. I'm really struggling to cope with the idea of what's coming. I think I'm quite shocked. Very, very, very shocked, actually. Very, very, very shocked. And I don't know, you know, I feel quite alone, because I'm struggling to tell my friends and stuff, because it's so big, you know, and because I kind of don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't, you know, it's tough to kind of sit down and talk and share and everything. Although I do have, you know, some friends that are being just amazing that do know, you know. So yeah, that's kind of where we are at the minute. I really look forward to coming back and being able to post more and kind of, you know, work this out with you guys. I think for a while I will do sit down rather than daily vlogs. Maybe I'll do a mix of both, we'll see. But perhaps at the minute what we could all do is just talk because I think already there is such an amazing community growing on this channel, and I think it, you know, maybe for now we could just have chats and I might throw in a couple of tags and stuff like that just to keep the channel ticking over until such time when I do start daily vlogging again. Okay, I think honestly that's about it for now. I'm just obviously aware of the time. It's quite funny, I was saying that I was aware of the time and the camera died. So yeah, like I was saying, we'll leave it there for now, and I will catch up with you all really soon, I promise. I'm sorry there's so much to take in this. It's been a really crazy couple of weeks, but like I say, I really want to record this journey from now until wherever it is that I end up with it. I think it's really important to kind of preserve these, oh my god, what the hell is going on feelings and the falling apart feelings, so that perhaps when I'm, you know, a year or two down the line, it can show people how far you can come from that, like where I am now, which is just, I just feel desperation and this deep sadness, to perhaps where I'll be then, and maybe, you know, like I say, this community can continue to grow and everything. Okay, so blessings to you and to yours. I will see you very soon, I promise. Okay, God bless. Bye bye.